hello, I had a request to make a video about Sobek, so I'm gonna try to do it now. Anyway, here's the top 10 Sobek tricks that I know. So tip number 1 is to always use your 2 before your 1 if you can in lane especially. Because the enemies are knocked up when you are charging your 1, which means they cannot juke it unless they beat, which can be really useful and is also a lot more reliable than just trying to go for it like this, which can usually end up in a miss. There's nothing too fancy, you just hit your 2, then hit your 1. Tip number 2, this one is a little cheesy and you are required to have the Furious emote, as you can see right here. And you can use it to bait reactions from your opponents, because if you spin around with your Furious, it looks a lot like if you are spinning while using your 3, which can lead to baiting some abilities. It is up to you if you want to use it, it's a little cheesy, I know, but it's there. Tip number 3 is cancelling your ult, and I cannot stress this enough. If you didn't know, if you right click in your ult, you cancel it and the damage goes off sooner, but it does less damage based on the time you've charged it, which can be really useful. Imagine your opponent has Aegis and he's waiting for your ult to pop, but you just pop it early, so they don't have enough time to react, meaning you still do damage instead of nothing, which is really good even though it's less. Tip number 4, build movement speed items. Usually you wanna get Talisman, it's a really good aura item for your team, and then you can even usually go for Witchblade, Relic Dagger or Wingblade, depending on the enemy team composition. And I think you want movement speed for obvious reasons, so you can easily catch up to your enemies, which can lead to easier plugs. Normally if you have same movement speed as your opponent, you can't really hit him with your 2 if he's further away, but if you're faster than him, you almost always can sooner or later. So tip number 5 is how to properly clear if you're a soul laner. It can work even for supports. And you want to start by hitting the whole wave with your 3 first. And then use your 2 on the melees and walk to ranged. It should hit both, which is really efficient. Tip number 6, building Sobek support. So for me, I usually start Watcher's Gift, almost always right now, it's really good. Then later on you want to get Sentinel's Embrace most of the time. I prefer CDR shoes, but it's up to you really. I like to follow it up with early on Land of Thieves to get the stacks going, and then the Stone of Binding. Usually if they have a lot of magical damage, I go Talisman of Energy next for the extra movement speed to catch up to enemies as I mentioned before, and I can finish that with Sovereignty, but if you're a little greedy you wanna get Breastplate for the extra CR, which can be really useful too. For relics, I prefer Shell and Blink. I usually start Blink if I'm feeling cheesy, if not something Shell. And remember to never build Mystical Mail if you're going Blink, thank you. Tip number 7 is how to build Sobek solo lane, and with starter items, it's really up to you. I like Vamp Shroud for the extra sustain because I usually follow it up with the Shoes of the Magi, but you can also go Warding Sigil, Warrior's Axe, kinda whatever actually, it's up to you really. Then I like Shoes of the Magi for like the extra clear power spike from the magical power and some additional sustain. If you're up against the physical god, you wanna get Breastplate, against magical Voidstone, you wanna get both of them anyway. Then I like Wingblade if they have some slows, if not you can get Talisman or a different item from the Wingblade tree. And I like to finish it up with the Pridvan for the 40% CDR and extra protections and shields, but you can get any defense item as your last item if you want. And relics, I usually like Blink first, Shell second, you can go TP, it's kinda up to you. And as tip number 8, there's a build which is my favorite, and it is I'm tank, but I'm also not a tank, which I don't recommend getting in ranked. It's more like a casual build, where you go Mystical, Voidstone, Ethereal Staff. The point is you pretend to be tanky because they are technically defense items, but you still do a lot of damage. It's a lot of fun. And don't go Blink, because you have Mystical. It's not a great idea. Tip number 9 is your basic trade combo, which includes auto-attack resets, and it goes like this. It's basic attack 3, basic attack 2, basic attack 1. It should look something like this. And that's your like most efficient trading power, I guess. And finally, tip number 10 is how to properly blink and use your 1 if you don't have your 2 ready, which you should always use first if you can. But if you don't, the best way how to secure your 1 after blinking is to blink right on top of the enemy with your 1. So it should look something like this. Nice. It was my bad, let's try again. It should look something like this, where you give almost no time to your opponent to react. And a quick bonus tip, try to use your 3 after you take damage for better trades because it heals you, and try to hit the minion wave as well so you get as much healing as you can. It is up to 3 targets. And that's it. If I forgot something, let me know down in the comments, and see you in the next one.